My name is Elena Brooks, and I'm 27 years old. Imagine spending 5 years loving someone so deeply that you shape your whole life around them, only for that person to look you in the eyes one morning and say, "You've become boring." That's what my boyfriend Ryan said to me right before he walked out of our shared apartment and right out of my heart. He left me for someone more exciting, someone who posted bikini pictures, went to yacht parties, and didn't talk about building a future. I just stood there shaking, trying not to let the tears fall until he slammed the door. That day, I swore I'd never be that boring girl again. But not in the way he imagined, because the next time he saw me, I'd be sitting across from him in a glass boardroom, owning the company that he got fired from. If you want to see how this story unfolds, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more unbelievable stories of heartbreak, revenge, and success. Now, let me tell you how I went from the boring girlfriend to the billionaire he begged to take him back. The beginning, the girl he once loved. Ryan and I met in college. He was the loud, charming guy who could make anyone laugh. I was the quiet one, the girl who always had her nose in a book, who believed in plans, savings, and quiet dinners at home. When he asked me out, everyone was shocked. We were opposites, but it worked. At least I thought it did. In the beginning, he said I made him feel grounded. He used to call me his calm in the chaos. But as his career in marketing took off and he started hanging out with flashy people, suddenly, being calm wasn't enough. He started coming home late, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. At first, I made excuses for him. Then one night, I saw a lipstick stain on his shirt. Bright red. I never wore lipstick. When I confronted him, he didn't even try to lie. He smirked and said, "You just don't get me anymore, Elena. You're too boring. I need someone who lives." I remember my hands trembling as I whispered, "After everything I've done for you?" He shrugged. "You'll find someone safe like you. That's what you want, right? Safety." And then he left. Just like that. The fall before the rise. For weeks, I could barely eat or sleep. I kept replaying his words. Too boring. Was it true? Was I really the problem? Then I looked around our apartment, the one I paid for while he chased his dream projects. Every bill, every rent receipt, every saved-up penny had my name on it. No, I wasn't boring. I was responsible. And I realized he didn't want boring. He wanted easy. So I packed up my things, quit my small accounting job, and moved out of the city. Everyone said I was crazy. But in that silence, something inside me changed. The spark of revenge. One night, I was scrolling online and stumbled upon an ad. Learn to invest. Build your empire. It was cheesy, but something in me clicked. Maybe I couldn't fix the past, but I could build a future that made me untouchable. I started taking online business courses. Day after day, night after night, I studied while working freelance bookkeeping jobs to survive. It was exhausting, but every time I wanted to quit, I heard his voice again. "You're too boring." That voice became my fuel. By 25, I started a small investment firm with just $5,000 in savings and 3 clients who believed in me. By 26, I was handling 6-figure portfolios. By 27, I was being invited to speak at business conferences. The same quiet, boring girl he abandoned was now being called the silent shark in finance circles. The twist of fate begins. Then, fate decided to play her favorite game, irony. One morning, while checking emails, I saw a message from a major corporation looking for an independent financial consultant for a restructuring project. The company's name? Lumacorp, Ryan's company. At first, I almost deleted it, but then I smiled, because karma had just sent me an invitation. I applied under my firm's name, Brooks Capital, without mentioning I was the owner. A week later, I received an email. "Congratulations, you've been selected to lead the project. We look forward to meeting you in person." I couldn't wait to see the look on his face. The day of the meeting, I wore a tailored navy suit and a calm smile. I walked into the glass conference room, my heels echoing like a heartbeat. When Ryan turned around and saw me, his face went pale. He stuttered, Elena? I smiled, extended my hand, and said, "Hello, Mr. Carter. I'll be managing your company's financial restructuring." The room went silent. That was the first time he realized. The boring girl he threw away had turned into the woman who now controlled his future. The meeting that changed everything. Ryan sat across the boardroom table, pretending to stay calm. But I saw the flicker of panic behind his fake smile. "Well, this is unexpected," he muttered. "You could say that," I replied, sliding my proposal across the table. "Let's focus on business. Personal history doesn't belong here." His colleagues looked between us, confused. They had no idea. I didn't need to explain. His discomfort was my quiet victory. As I began explaining the company's financial audit plan, Ryan kept fidgeting. He interrupted with half-formed excuses for the company's losses, clearly trying to sound important. I let him, because now he was the one trying to impress me. Behind the scenes, the truth about LumaCorp. Over the next few weeks, I discovered the real reason LumaCorp was struggling. Ryan had been making reckless marketing decisions, spending the company's budget like it was his personal playground. Lavish parties, trips, networking events that looked suspiciously like luxury vacations. The same carelessness that destroyed our relationship had followed him to work. One night, while reviewing expense files, I came across a transaction that made my stomach twist. A $30,000 charge under a woman's name. The same woman he left me for. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Ryan's arrogance had gone unchecked for too long. But this time, it wasn't my heart he was breaking. It was his career. The calm before the storm. The next day, I called a private meeting with the company's board of directors. Ryan didn't know. I presented a report highlighting every misuse of funds, with evidence. When I finished, the chairman asked quietly, "Who authorized these expenses?" I pointed at the signature. "Ryan Carter." Their faces dropped. By the end of that week, Ryan was suspended pending an internal review. He didn't even see it coming. The confrontation. Later that night, he showed up at my office. His tie was loose, his voice desperate. "Elena, please. You can't do this to me. You know how hard I've worked for this company." I stood up slowly, meeting his eyes. "You mean how hard you've spent for this company? Ryan, you did this to yourself." He stepped closer, trying to charm me like old times. "Come on, Elena. You're better than this. You're not cruel." I smiled, cold and quiet. "No, I'm not cruel. I'm just not boring anymore." He froze. That line hit him harder than anything else I could have said. Turning the tables. By the following week, the board voted to remove him as marketing director, and they offered me a permanent position, chief financial advisor. Every part of me wanted to scream with triumph, but I didn't. I accepted calmly, professionally, because real revenge doesn't need to shout. Still, that night when I finally got home, I allowed myself to cry, not out of sadness, but closure. For the girl who once begged him to love her. For the woman who finally stopped needing him to. The comeback no one saw coming. Within 6 months, I turned LumaCorp's finances around. Investors started calling again. Stock prices climbed. And for the first time in company history, LumaCorp hit record profits. At the next corporate gala, the chairman toasted to me. "To the woman who saved this company," he said, lifting his glass. "To Elena Brooks." The crowd applauded. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ryan, standing near the bar, alone, watching me. He looked small. The same man who once said I wasn't enough was now staring at me like I was everything he lost. Later, as the night ended, he approached me again. "Elena, I made a mistake. You were never boring. You were the best thing that ever happened to me." I turned to him and whispered, "You're right. I was the best thing that happened to you, but you were the worst thing that happened to me." Then I walked away, my heels clicking like applause. The power shift. Ryan's world was falling apart, and mine was just beginning. But what he didn't know was that my success had attracted someone new, someone powerful, kind, and just as ambitious as me. And that's where the real twist begins. A few weeks after the gala, I received an invitation to an exclusive business summit in New York. I almost said no, until I saw the host's name. Alexander Reed, the billionaire tech investor, self-made, ruthless in business, known for spotting brilliance in unlikely places. He'd personally requested to meet me after hearing about how I saved LumaCorp. I couldn't say no. When I arrived, the event was every bit as glamorous as expected: celebrities, CEOs, investors. But amid all that noise, Alexander Reed stood out, tall, composed, with an air of power that didn't need to be loud. He looked at me with calm curiosity, like he could already see the fire I'd hidden for years. The first conversation. "So you're the woman who turned a sinking company into a success story," he said with a small smile. "Depends who you ask," I replied. "Some people just think I got lucky." "People who underestimate you," he said, "are people who fear you." That line hit me, because it was true. He offered me a consulting deal that night, help him manage a new tech startup he was funding. But his last words before we shook hands stuck with me. "This isn't just a job, Elena, it's an empire in the making." The rise together. Over the next year, we built that empire side by side. Days turned into late nights of planning, strategy, and shared victories. We grew the company from a simple startup to a multi-million-dollar powerhouse. Somewhere between conference rooms and coffee breaks, I realized something terrifying. I was falling for him. But I was terrified to admit it. Because love had been my weakness once. I promised myself never again. Still, Alexander wasn't like Ryan. He didn't try to outshine me. He believed in me. He once said, "You're not just smart, Elena. You're dangerous. In the best way." And for the first time, that didn't sound like an insult. The past returns. Then one day, as if summoned by jealousy itself, Ryan returned. He showed up at my office unannounced, looking defeated. No suit, no confidence, just regret. "Elena, I heard about your new company. I'm proud of you." I couldn't believe the nerve. But before I could reply, he added quietly, "I just need some help. I can't find work. Nobody will hire me after LumaCorp." I stared at him. The man who once said I wasn't enough was now begging me for help. For a moment, I pitied him. But then I remembered the nights I cried myself to sleep while he was out living his exciting life. So I said, "Ryan, maybe you should find someone more exciting to hire you." And I walked away. The offer that changed everything. That night, Alexander and I had dinner to celebrate closing another huge investment deal. In the middle of dinner, he leaned forward and said something that made my heart skip. "Elena, I want you to take over as CEO." I blinked, stunned. "Alexander, you're offering me your company?" "No," he said with a half smile. "I'm offering you our company, equal partners, 50-50. I didn't know what to say. For so long, I'd built everything on revenge, on proving someone wrong. And now, here was a man proving that I was already right. That night, I signed the papers. In one signature, I became one of the youngest female CEOs in the industry. The irony of fate. The very next morning, an article went viral. Elena Brooks becomes youngest tech CEO, partners with billionaire Alexander Reed. My phone blew up with messages, old friends, ex-classmates, even my parents. And then, Ryan called. "Elena, I saw the news. I don't know what to say. You did it. Yes, I said softly. I did. I miss you, he added. You miss what you lost, I replied. Not who I am now. And with that, I hung up. The turning point, love or power. Everything was perfect until it wasn't. Because as our company grew, I started seeing another side of Alexander. He was brilliant but controlling, charming but secretive. One night during a late meeting, I caught him hiding a contract from me. Something felt wrong. He noticed my suspicion and smiled coldly. Don't worry, Elena. I know what's best for both of us. Those words sounded too familiar, too much like him. And suddenly, I realized I might be facing another betrayal, one even bigger than before. Suspicion rises. That night, I couldn't sleep. The success I'd fought for suddenly felt like a trap. Was I building another man's dream all over again? I promised myself that if Alexander was hiding something, I'd find out. And this time, I wouldn't be the one left broken, because I wasn't that girl anymore. After that night, Alexander acted normal, almost too normal, smiling, laughing, talking about our next big launch. But every instinct in me screamed something was off. He'd started locking his office drawers, whispering on late-night calls, and one morning, I overheard a conversation through the door. She doesn't need to know yet, he said sharply. We'll announce it when the time is right. My stomach tightened. She doesn't need to know. Was he talking about me? I stepped back before he could see me listening. For days, I couldn't focus. I'd built my entire life around transparency and control, yet here I was, feeling small again, powerless. No, not this time. The secret meeting. A week later, during a board meeting, I noticed something strange in the presentation slides. New shareholders had been added to our equity chart. 3 names I didn't recognize. And somehow, my stake had quietly dropped from 50% to 30%. I looked up slowly, locking eyes with Alexander. He smiled. That calm, confident smile that used to make me feel safe. Now it made my blood boil. After the meeting, I confronted him in his office. You changed the ownership structure without telling me? He leaned back in his chair. It's just business, Elena. I needed new investors. You needed them, or you wanted control. He didn't answer. That silence told me everything. The mask falls off. He stood up and walked around his desk until he was inches from me. You're emotional again. That's what makes you weak, Elena. You've always been too emotional to play in the big leagues. The words sliced through me like glass. It was Ryan all over again. Different face, same manipulation. I forced a smile, hiding my shaking hands. You're right, I whispered. Maybe I am emotional, but I never make the same mistake twice. He didn't understand what I meant. Not yet. The counterattack begins. That night I called Ava, my best friend from college, now a lawyer specializing in corporate law. I told her everything. The contracts, the missing shares, the hidden investors. She said quietly, Elena, he's trying to push you out of your own company. I felt cold all over, but then Ava added, You've got the brains and I've got the law. Let's turn this around. We spent nights digging through files, tracing shareholder names, decoding legal loopholes, and that's when we found it. A secret merger agreement. If approved, Alexander would transfer all intellectual property to a shell company, under his sole name. He wasn't just betraying me. He was stealing everything I built, the calm before the storm. For the next few days, I played along. Smiled in meetings, laughed at his jokes, pretended I didn't know. But behind the scenes, I gathered evidence, emails, call records, transaction logs. Every piece of the puzzle leading to one truth. Alexander Reed was about to commit corporate fraud, and I was going to let him until I was ready to strike. The boardroom showdown. The day of the merger vote arrived. The boardroom was full. Cameras, reporters, investors. Alexander walked in like a king, confident and untouchable. He began his speech, selling the merger as a strategic innovation deal. I sat quietly until he finished. Then I stood. "Before we vote," I said, "I'd like to present some documents." The room went still. I handed out folders, proof of his secret accounts, wire transfers, and the fake investor identities. Alexander froze. "What is this?" "Evidence," I said calmly, "of your betrayal and your attempt to steal this company." The board members gasped. He tried to speak, but the chairman interrupted. "Mr. Reed, these allegations are serious. We'll have to suspend you pending an investigation." Alexander's mask shattered. "You set me up," he hissed. "No," I said, my voice steady. "You did this to yourself. I just stopped you before you could finish." The aftermath security escorted him out as flashbulbs from reporters flickered. He didn't look powerful anymore. He looked afraid. That night, I stood alone in my office overlooking the city lights. Everything I'd worked for was safe again, but instead of feeling victorious, I felt empty. Because revenge, no matter how satisfying, always costs something. The empty victory. I had destroyed the man who tried to destroy me, but as I stared out the window, I couldn't help but wonder, was I becoming exactly like them? Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Elena, you think it's over? It's not. AR." My blood ran cold. Alexander wasn't finished. And I had just declared war on a billionaire. The calm after the storm. For weeks, everything seemed peaceful. The investigation confirmed my evidence. The board voted unanimously to remove Alexander from all executive positions. And I, finally, became the sole CEO of the company I helped build. Investors celebrated. The media called me the Iron Phoenix. It was supposed to be my victory. But victory felt fragile. I couldn't shake the feeling that Alexander was still out there, waiting, watching. Then the cracks began to show. The sabotage begins. It started small. Confidential data leaks, project delays, unexpected cancellations from long-term clients. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Then one night, my head of IT burst into my office, pale and shaking. "Elena, someone's been accessing our servers remotely. They're using encrypted routes we can't trace." A chill crawled up my spine. Only one person knew our system that well. Alexander. He wasn't just angry. He was strategic. And I knew then, he was coming for everything. The first strike back. I called an emergency meeting with my legal and security team. We reinforced our networks, changed all credentials, even brought in federal cybersecurity agents. But Alexander was always one step ahead. He started leaking false rumors online, articles claiming I'd manipulated the board, forged documents, and used emotional tactics to gain power. In a week, my company's reputation started bleeding. Investors panicked. Stock dropped. And I found myself standing exactly where he wanted me, cornered. The trap within the trap. Then, out of nowhere, I received a message from him. "Let's talk. One last time. No lawyers, just us." My first instinct was to delete it, but then I remembered, he thrived on control. If I showed fear, he'd win. So I replied, "Fine, tomorrow. My office, noon." I wasn't going to walk into his trap. I was going to turn it on him. The confrontation, round 2. The next day he arrived. Same expensive suit, same charming smirk, but colder. His eyes were full of something dangerous. Desperation disguised as confidence. "You've done well for yourself," he said softly. "But you're not built for this world, Elena. You run on emotion. I run on power. Then why are you the one outside looking in? I shot back. He chuckled. Because I'm not finished. You think you won because you embarrassed me? No. You just made me smarter. He placed a flash drive on my desk. Inside this are files you'll want to see. If you don't make a deal with me by tomorrow, I'll destroy everything you've built. I didn't touch it. If you had real power, you wouldn't need to threaten me, I said. He leaned in, whispering, The thing about empires, Elena, they don't fall from force. They fall from within. And then he left. The decision. I sat there, staring at the flash drive. I could hand it to the authorities immediately, but curiosity burned like fire. What if it held proof, something I could use to finally end him? Against every instinct, I opened it. Files, videos, emails. But what I found inside wasn't about him. It was about me. Private photos, personal messages, old emails from years ago. He'd hacked my life. And the last file was titled, Your End. Inside was a forged document, a fake whistleblower report accusing me of insider trading, time-stamped, signed, all ready to leak. He was planning to ruin me publicly. The turning point, the Phoenix Plan. I wasn't going to let him destroy everything. So, I created a plan I called the Phoenix. While he was trying to burn my image, I'd rise through the flames. Step 1. Leak the truth first. My PR team and Ava, my lawyer, helped me publish a transparent, detailed report about the cyber attacks and Alexander's ongoing threats. We included digital forensics proving his hacks. Step 2. Partner with a new investor, someone bigger than Alexander. A global venture fund that believed in my vision. They publicly backed me, injecting millions into the company. Step 3. Expose his crimes. We worked with authorities to trace his shell accounts and anonymous transactions. Every threat he made, every document he forged, it was all there. The fall of the king. 2 months later, news broke. Billionaire Alexander Reed arrested for cybercrime, fraud, and corporate espionage. The same man who once said I wasn't built for this world was now facing 15 years in prison. When reporters asked me for a statement, I said one sentence: power built on deceit always collapses. Eventually. The final ascent. As I left the press conference that day, I saw a reflection in a nearby window. Me, confident, composed, untouchable. I didn't see the broken girl who once cried over a man who called her boring. I saw a woman who had burned down her past and built an empire from the ashes. But what I didn't know yet was that Alexander had one last move left, something that would hit closer to home than I ever imagined. The message that changed everything. It began 3 months after Alexander's arrest. I was in the middle of a board meeting when my assistant whispered, "Ma'am, there's a package for you. No return address." Inside was a small black notebook. No note, no sender. Just one line written across the first page. "You may have destroyed my empire, but you'll never destroy what I built inside yours." My chest tightened. I flipped through the notebook, pages filled with coded numbers, lists of names, and what looked like bank transactions. Some of them matched my own employees. That's when I realized Alexander had planted moles inside my company months before his arrest. The empire I thought I'd secured was already infected. The discovery I immediately called Ava, my lawyer and closest friend. She arrived that night with coffee, a laptop, and the same determination that got us through everything before. "He's manipulating you from the inside," she said. "No, he's trying to finish what he started," I replied. "But this time, I'm not going to wait for him to strike first." We began tracing the codes. Each number led to offshore accounts and hidden fund transfers, money siphoned from our profits over the past 6 months. It wasn't just sabotage. It was a slow bleed. Whoever was doing this knew our system intimately. Someone close. Someone I trusted. The suspect. After weeks of digging, one name kept appearing in the logs. Lucas Gray, my new chief operations officer. He'd joined right after Alexander's suspension, recommended by one of the anonymous investors. I remembered the way he always smiled, always agreed, always stayed late for the company. I thought he was loyal. But as Ava traced his connections, the truth hit like ice. Lucas had once been Alexander's personal assistant. He was the one feeding Alexander information from the inside, Ava said quietly. And now he's running Alexander's backup plan. I felt my pulse pounding. Then it's time to show him who really runs this company. The silent operation. I didn't confront Lucas right away. I watched. Every document he approved, every meeting he requested, every email he sent, I tracked them all. Then I built a trap. I leaked a fake contract. One that seemed like a secret merger with an international firm. If he took the bait and forwarded it, I'd have proof. 2 days later, my security director came to me with confirmation. Lucas had emailed the file to a hidden server in Monaco, registered under a fake name. But the real bombshell came when we decrypted it. The server belonged to Reed Industries, a dormant shell company owned by none other than Alexander Reed. He had orchestrated this entire infiltration from prison. The prison visit. The next day, I made a decision I never thought I would. I went to see him. When I entered the visitation room, he looked exactly the same, calm, collected, like he'd been expecting me. "Elena," he said, smiling faintly, "you look tired. Running an empire is exhausting, isn't it?" "You don't get to talk about empires," I said. "Yours is gone." "Gone?" He chuckled softly. "No, Elena. You're standing in it. You just don't realize it yet." I slammed the notebook down in front of him. "You think you're clever, but I've already traced everything." "Then you also know," he said, leaning closer, "that it doesn't stop with Lucas." He whispered something then that froze me completely. "There's someone else, someone you'd never suspect, someone you've already trusted with everything." He leaned back, eyes glinting. "Find them, and maybe you'll keep your empire. Or don't, and watch it burn again." The return home. That night, I stared at the city skyline from my penthouse window. Alexander was behind bars, but his words haunted me. Someone you'd never suspect. Was he lying to rattle me? Or was my empire truly built on a foundation of betrayal? Ava's voice echoed in my mind. "He's always 3 steps ahead. Don't underestimate the kind of monsters money creates." I made a silent promise to myself that night. If there was still a snake in my circle, I would find them, and when I did, I wouldn't show mercy. The shadow inside. The next morning, I walked into the office like nothing had happened. Smiling, calm, controlled. But inside, I was ready for war again. Because somewhere in that building, among the faces I trusted, someone was still working for Alexander. And before this story ends, one of us won't be standing. Before we dive into this chaos, please make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss how this final chapter unfolds. The betrayal, the revenge, and the justice that came with fire. The suspicion begins. I started by testing loyalty. Quietly. I planted small rumors, changed passwords, swapped internal documents. Every move a trap. And every time I moved a piece, someone adjusted faster than I expected. Only a few people had that level of access. Ava, my lawyer and confidant, Dylan, head of security, and Maya, my assistant, the one who'd been with me since day one. Ava was family to me. Dylan was too cautious to risk anything. That left Maya. She was the quiet type. Polite, efficient, never late. She'd been my shadow for years, helping me survive the hardest days after Alexander betrayed me. So why did her security badge register at 2 a.m. last Tuesday, when no one else was in the building? The hidden room. I arrived early the next morning and went straight to the surveillance room. "Show me the footage from last night," I ordered. The guard hesitated. "It's, been erased, ma'am." Erased. Every camera feed from midnight to dawn, gone. I felt my stomach twist. This wasn't a coincidence. Someone inside had clearance to delete security data. That's when Dylan walked in, holding a small flash drive. Found this in the basement storage, hidden under a loose tile. I plugged it in. Encrypted files, all marked with the same initials, AR. Inside were digital copies of company blueprints, client lists, even my personal email archives. Someone had been copying my life. The betrayal revealed. Later that night, I asked Maya to stay late for a private meeting. She came in smiling, holding a folder and 2 cups of coffee. "You wanted to go over the new investor proposals, ma'am?" I looked her in the eyes. "I did. But I also wanted to ask why your access card was used in the office at 2 a.m. on Tuesday." Her smile faltered. I don't know. Maybe a glitch? And the erased footage? The copied files? Those a glitch too?" She went silent. For a long moment, she stared at the floor, then finally whispered, "He said he'd destroy you if I didn't help him." My throat tightened. "Alexander?" She nodded, tears forming. "He contacted me a year ago. I swear I didn't mean to hurt you. I owed him." "Owed him?" I repeated, voice trembling with disbelief. Then she told me the truth. The twist, Maya's secret. Years ago, when I first met Maya, she'd been struggling. A single mother trying to keep her son alive after a rare illness. The hospital bills were crushing her. And back then, one man stepped in to help. Alexander Reed. He'd paid for her son's surgery under one condition. If he ever needed her, she would answer. And now, years later, she had. By spying on me. I could see the pain in her eyes. She wasn't a villain. She was a pawn. A desperate mother caught in the shadow of a monster. "He said he'd send people after my son if I didn't, to keep sending updates," she whispered. "And I couldn't risk it, Elena. I'm sorry." For the first time in years, I didn't feel anger. I felt pity. The countermove, I placed a gentle hand on hers. "Maya, if you want this to end, you'll help me. One last time." She hesitated, then nodded. Together, we planned it. A sting operation. One that would finally cut Alexander's reach out of my company forever. Maya would keep feeding him false information, fake mergers, secret projects, and insider leaks. All fabricated, all designed to lure his outside contacts into one massive, traceable communication web. Once they bit the bait, my team would have enough to expose everyone in his network, inside and outside prison. The trap is set. 2 weeks later, the first message came. A coded email from an encrypted address, Alexander's old handler. Then another, and another. Each one confirming our fake projects, each one forwarding files to shell companies across Europe and Asia. Dylan's cybersecurity team traced every packet, every wire transfer, every handler, and finally, every accomplice. The FBI swooped in at dawn. 27 arrests in one day. Alexander's outside empire, gone. The final letter. But even from prison, he managed one last message. It arrived the next morning. A handwritten note, sealed with his signature wax mark. "You've outplayed me again, Elena. But every empire falls eventually, yours included. When it does, remember, I didn't destroy you. I created you." I burned the letter that night. Watched it turn to ash in the wind. Because he was wrong. He didn't create me. His betrayal forged me. Ending, the fire inside. As I stood on the balcony of my new headquarters, I realized something. I wasn't just the woman he underestimated anymore. I was the woman he feared. The world now called me Elena Brooks, the billionaire who rose from betrayal. But the truth? I was the woman who turned heartbreak into empire. And no one, not even Alexander Reed, could ever take that from me again. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because in Part 8, you'll see the final chapter of this story. When he begged me back, that's where Alexander's last card falls, and I show him what true revenge really looks like. Before I tell you how that meeting went, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because this isn't just revenge, this is closure, the kind you wait your whole life for. The unexpected request. It had been 8 months since the FBI operation. My company was stronger than ever. I had new partners, a growing foundation for women entrepreneurs, and peace, something I hadn't known in years. Then, one morning, my secretary rushed in. "Ms. Brooks, someone from the state correctional facility called. He wants to see you." I froze. "Who?" "Alexander Reed." I should have said no. I should have laughed and hung up, but curiosity, the same thing that once got me hurt, still lived in me. So I said yes. The prison meeting, round 2. The next day, I walked into the same sterile room as before. He looked older now, thinner. His confidence had cracks in it. But when his eyes met mine, the smirk was still there, faint, but alive. "Elena," he said softly, "you look incredible." "Save the compliments. What do you want?" I asked. He leaned forward, voice lower. "I want out, and I need your help." I laughed, an actual sharp laugh that echoed in that cold room. "You? The man who framed me, blackmailed me, tried to burn my company to the ground, now wants me to help him?" "We were partners once," he said. "No," I snapped. "We were predators in the same jungle, but I evolved. You got caught." His desperation. He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Elena, listen, I'm not asking for pity. I have something you'll want. There's nothing you have that I want. Not even the truth about your father's bankruptcy?" That stopped me cold. My father had died years ago, his company collapsing under mysterious market pressure. Back then, I thought it was just bad luck. But the way Alexander said it, it sounded intentional. "What do you know?" I asked quietly. "I can prove who sabotaged him. The same people who tried to sabotage you. Help me get a reduced sentence, and I'll give you everything." The temptation, or a moment, I actually considered it. The truth about my father's fall had haunted me for years. But then I looked at him, this man who had built an empire on manipulation, greed, and ego. And I saw what he was doing. He wasn't offering peace. He was baiting me. Again. "You haven't changed," I whispered. "You're still trying to control the narrative, still trying to make me dance for scraps of your power." He smiled faintly. "And yet you came." I stood. "Yes. To see the look on your face when I tell you no." The ultimate revenge. I walked to the door but turned one last time. "You once told me I'd be nothing without you," I said, "that I'd never survive in your world." He nodded, eyes unreadable. "And look at you now. You survived." I smiled, cold, calm, final. "No, Alexander, I didn't survive. I won." Then I placed an envelope on the table. Inside was a legal notice, a signed statement withdrawing all public rights to his old company name, transferring it permanently to mine. Reed Industries was now officially Brooks Global Innovations. His empire was now under my name. His legacy, mine to reshape. I leaned down close to his ear and whispered, "Now you'll watch me build what you never could, with honesty, intelligence, and integrity, the things you'll never understand." Then I walked away, heels clicking against concrete, echoing like victory drums. The aftermath. That night, I stood at the top floor of my building, my name glowing across the skyline. I thought about the woman I used to be, naive, hungry for love, blind to red flags, and then I thought about the woman I became. Fierce, fearless, unbreakable. People often ask me how it feels to become a billionaire. I tell them the truth. Money didn't make me powerful. Survival did. Ending monologue, final reflection. Alexander Reed thought I was too boring, too quiet, too small. He wanted fireworks and chaos. Instead, I became the storm. And now, while he fades into memory, I shine brighter than ever. So to anyone who's ever been called boring, unworthy, or forgettable, remember my story. Because sometimes, revenge isn't about ruining someone else's life. It's about building yours so high that they have to look up to see what they lost. Closing. If you made it to the end, thank you for listening to my story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that being underestimated can be the most powerful weapon in the world. My name is Elena Brooks, and this was my revenge. End.